this shit, I can't. I just want to say, if you are considering becoming a transaction coordinator, if you're considering becoming a real estate agent, do it. There's money to be made for everyone, and there's a space for everyone. It's easy to cross the lines of an assistant and a transaction coordinator, but the difference is the level of responsibility and responsiveness and duties.
Welcome back to the Transaction Care Podcast. I am your host and resident care coordinator, Lillian Hernandez, but you can call me Lily like the flower, because we are learning and growing together. My goal with each episode is to demystify the business of real estate and leave you empowered to start your journey today. So we have an awesome guest today. Her name is Danielle Butler, aka the best TC ever. How could you not like that name? I love it. She is the owner of Aurora Administrative Services, LLC, and has been a licensed realtor since 2016 in the state of Virginia and in the state of New York since 2019. In 2019, she decided to open an administrative assistant business to help entrepreneurs and to supplement her income between closings. After juggling various unfulfilling projects at varying pay rates, she decided to focus on assisting real estate agents. She has grown her client database to over 20 real estate agents and teams. Very impressive. And when she's not managing her transaction coordination business or selling houses, she is spending time with her husband, daughters, pug, Pomeranian, and tabby cat. So everyone, welcome Danielle Butler, aka the best TC ever, to the Transaction Care Podcast. So welcome, Danielle. How are you? Thank you for joining me.
I feel like I should scream like, woo!
I love it. I love it. Express yourself anywhere you need to. That's what we're here for.
I'm happy to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So I saw Virginia and New York. So yes. You are practicing real estate in both states currently. And are you TCing there as well, or are you TCing in any other states?
Yes. So originally, well, as of actually the beginning of this year, I put my license into referral status in Virginia because I need to focus on New York. But New York is the wild, wild west. And coming into this market without having a sphere of influence has been challenging, on top of the high taxes and high property values. But so up until last year, practicing in New York and Virginia, which was very stressful. I did a lot of commuting for my sphere of influence. But as of right now, I'm referring to a good friend and colleague of mine for anyone looking in Virginia. And in terms of TC services, I serve, DC, Maryland, Virginia, Texas, and Illinois.
Awesome. You guys hear that? So if you need services in any of those areas, hit up Danielle. And we're about to jump into how you got there, because I'm pretty sure you have a story to share, and I'm ready to hear it. So why real estate? How did you get into it? You started your journey in 2016. So obviously you've had a life before that, get into whatever you're willing to share, but why real estate? I want to know what was the mindset and how you got there, and congratulations for still being in it. So let's go.
Okay, so I'm trying to make it short and sweet because I'm long-winded. In the beginning, it started off, I wanted to be a pharmacist, and there was an entrance exam. I totally bombed it. I think I only got points for putting my name on the test. And I was so anxious and trying to cram for it. It was just a mess, right? So when I came out, I knew I failed. I just was like, forget this. So at that point, I had already graduated from Hampton University with a biology degree, cellular and molecular biology. Yeah, but who wants to work in a lab? That is boring. Except for the people who work in the lab. I'm so sorry because we need you. But
no, respectfully,
right? But so I said, okay, I'm going to go to school and get a master's. So I went and got a master's for healthcare administration. And from there, I started doing sales and hospice care and all these things. And the moral of the story was, we would have meetings and, you would build these relationships, and then corporate would do something to totally damage the relationship by being pushy. And so I got tired, of going to work and sitting in these meetings and not feeling fulfilled and not feeling satisfied and looking at my paycheck like this is not worth it. And at the same time, I was actually buying a house in Virginia. And so we literally just walked into a brokerage and selected the first agent that talked to us. And by the time we closed, I said to myself, if he can do this, wait, can I curse? Because I I said, if he can do this shit, I can't.
Like I said, do
And
you let it all out.
yes,
But
and
that's real.
so
It's real.
yes, it's real, right? And so from there, I Googled, like, oh, what about real estate? And I found that you had unlimited earning potential, you could control your schedule, you're pretty much your own boss, all things that I identified with in the moment that I was struggling with. So I came home. Okay, I didn't really come home. I literally woke up out of my sleep and called my husband and said, like, I'm quitting my job and I want to become a real estate agent. Will you support this? And he is a mechanic, a trade, he doesn't have like a 4-year degree or anything. And he's always made like more money than me. And so he's like, okay, go for it, Danielle. So I went for it. So now, fast forward roughly a little more than that, 6 years later, here we are where I've, got my real estate license. And then I realized the BS that goes on behind the scenes, like with deals falling through, you know, it being revealed that buyers can't afford, all that kind of stuff that happens, right? And I said, okay, I can't, my anxiety's too bad. So what else am I good at that's related to real estate? And that's when, I kind of started working on Aurora Administrative Services. And then word of mouth has been really what has helped me grow. So, and kind of my colleagues, they support me. And, so that's how I got here. I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you did. You definitely did, because you mentioned a lot of points that I feel a lot of us tend to struggle with, especially when growing up, we're told like college, career, family,
Yeah.
retire.
Yeah.
Like
Yes.
why is life just 4 steps? It's like no one tells
Right.
you the in between and like pivoting and like, do I really want to do this? And why do I have to do this forever? Because you could have
Right.
still pursued biology, science, whatever the case, but who's to say in 5-10 years from now you're done with it?
Right.
Our careers
Right.
don't have to be forever. Like even real estate, that's why I congratulated you for still being in real estate, because it is a choice that you've made to be self-employed and to endure the very
The high.
nuance, the high pressure and the stress. Like I said earlier before we hit record, is like we choose violence every day.
And I think people, like you look on social media and you see agents and they like close, close, and you see sell signs, but you have no idea like what it takes to, perform at that high of a level. Like I compare it to like basketball or, football. Like you have to be strong emotionally and mentally, and you have to have like a good team mentor or friends or colleagues to help you through it, because, it's a lot of highs and lows. But it is enjoyable. Like it's enjoyable. So I hope I'm not painting it in a way where they're like, well, why are you doing it? No, I love what I do. It's just that there's a lot of things that are involved in it, and you have to kind of figure out your rhythm and your place amongst all these other agents with, different personalities and status and, influence. And so, I mentioned being in New York now. This is a completely new market for me. And so some of the customs and things that we do in Virginia are foreign to them here. And they're kind of, so I'm having to, handle that. So I just want to say, if you are considering becoming a transaction coordinator, if you're considering becoming a real estate agent, do it. There's money to be made for everyone, and there's a space for everyone.
Absolutely. There's definitely space for everyone. You just have to be willing to show up for yourself. No one else. Not the money,
Yeah.
not the brokerage, not
Yeah.
the sellers, the buyers, for you. And I think that's what makes a successful entrepreneur, is just knowing yourself well enough to be like, I respect what I said I was going to do, and I'm going to do it. Even if it takes me longer than I had anticipated, even if it means people telling me I suck every day, then okay, well, maybe I do, but tell me where to improve. Don't just
Yes,
don't just
just
tell
keep
me I suck. Like that, I get
right.
it. Okay. Even Kobe Bryant sucked, Michael Jordan sucked, Oprah sucked. Like everyone was bad at some point. Beyonce, you know what I mean? Like, and it doesn't have to be at this grand scale of like celebrity, but like you said, athletes, professional athletes show up every single day in practice. in order to
Yes.
play a 45-minute game. They're putting in the 10,000 hours. So really, so you started off as a realtor and then you realized, okay, well, maybe this is for me, but not in its entirety. I think there's somewhere else where I fit in that aligns with me and my personality, my values, my lifestyle, which is transaction coordination, right? So
Yes.
was it someone that said, hey, you should be a TC, or were you managing your own files? How did you find out what a transaction coordinator is or was at the time?
Oh, that's a good question. So, a good friend of mine by the name of Monique on Instagram, she was like I don't, not a wellness coach. What's the personal develop? It's coaching basically, like life coach. And I had saw one of her posts, and it was basically talking about like services and helping people. So I literally Googled services and helping people because no one had told me like I'm great at my paperwork or anything like that. But I did find like reading the contracts and all of that kind of exciting. And I saw that a lot of people struggled with it. And so from the post from Monique and between me Googling, more of like real estate administrative services and stuff like that, that's how I came up with just transaction coordinating. And then in between helping other entrepreneurs, I could see that it could be like kind of assistant like, but I wanted to get out of that lane because that's kind of overwhelming, if that makes sense. I don't know why. It's easy to cross the lines of an assistant and a transaction coordinator, but the difference is the level of responsibility and responsiveness and duties. So I got away from administrative services, like if that makes sense. And then just, okay, this is the name, but I'm going to just focus on realtor. And so that's how like the best TC ever came. And, I started working and seeing how at different brokerages and seeing that their TC suck. Like most of the brokerage TCs, they suck. Like the independent TCs normally like are rock stars. But I think that's almost with anything, nowadays. Like, the people that are kind of like rebels,
Right. And I think
really.
with the independent TCs, it's like almost like this mental switch. We have a lot more to lose,
Yeah,
even though we're
yeah,
all still in the same boat, but there's some level of comfort when you have a guaranteed check versus
yes,
you are fighting for your life every day for that one closing.
yes,
And if you could
yes,
multiply that, if you could 10x that one closing, that urge just to survive every day, hopefully in a healthy manner,
yes.
it just increases. But I know what you mean in terms of, we're not saying all in-house TCs suck. I'm not even saying that. It's just there is a different sense of urgency, I think, that exists. And you made a good point about assistants versus TCs. I always like to use it could be the difference between picking up someone's clothes at the cleaners
Hmm.
versus versus you just auditing a file. so
Yes.
so there has to be,
That's
you
a
have to know a difference and like be willing to like not be willing to know the difference and figuring out where you fit in that. So go ahead and continue. I just wanted to point that out in terms of
the difference,
the
right? So
difference.
I'm just gonna piggyback off of what you said. And so a couple of things. One, the first thing was about the sense of urgency and multiplying every deal. And so that's something else as a realtor that I kind of do differently. I've seen other companies that do it, but I offer like a monthly retainer option. And so I think if you're an aspiring TC and you're listening, that you want to do your research, like your market research, and see what other companies are out there. Look at their websites, my website, whatever, and see what people are doing, so you can come up with something that may be it may be slightly different than what any of us are doing, and it could have an edge in your market, with other agents. And so I like the idea of fixed expenses, like knowing what to expect. And so that is something that I've incorporated into my business model that I feel a lot of agents appreciate, is the fact that they know that, okay, this is what my price is going to be, for a year. Or if I have a team of 1 to 5 agents, I've got a TC with unlimited transactions for this amount. So I think, that's something that will, I don't want to say eliminate the sense of urgency, but will put you in a place where you're not, feeling like if I don't answer this or if I don't respond, then this client is never going to come back. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it kind of gives you some power, some authority in your role. And I think another thing, the last thing I want to touch on is establishing that you have to be assertive, because we are in an administrative role, and there's complexes out here. People have their idea of like white collar, blue collar, etc. And so most people, I find sometimes I run into ego issues when dealing with agents because of my role. But I'm also an agent too, so I'm like, just relax. Like, it's not that deep. Like, I'm not a title person. Like, I don't care that I am the CEO, I am the owner. Like, I'm a human. Just respect me and just do what I need done, and help me get it done, because that's what I'm here for. So I want, people to know that I think I even saw in like a Facebook, one of those real estate Facebook groups where they was like, oh, you should hire a TC so you could tell them what to do. No. If you're a business if you're a business owner, and we're both business owners, right? So you have to make sure that your agents respect you as such. And if they don't, then it may not be a good fit. Like, I can't put an amount of money on respect, if that makes sense.
That makes all of the sense. And that plays into just knowing what your values are. I recently just spent time like 2 or 3 weeks ago reevaluating my values and asking myself what is, like, that is the foundation of who we are, as a person, as a business, as a mom or an auntie or whatever the case may be. It's like, well, if someone is disrespecting me, and there are some people, unfortunately, that work under those circumstances. And I think it's because they lack the self-awareness, you know,
Right.
and you could just have the one value, like just respect
Right.
me. Simple,
Yes. That's
simple.
it.
Or you could
It's
have
very
10 or 20, but if you have the one, to me, that's the R in care for me, is respect. That goes a long way. And
it,
I like what you said about eliminating the fear that they're going to leave, because I go through that too, even to this day. I've been working different jobs in real estate, owned my business for 5+ years, half a decade, if you want to make it sound more official. But I still deal with, I'm human. I still deal with
right.
that like scarcity mentality, or the, I still self-sabotage, and like, oh, are they going to stay? Did I respond quick enough? And I like that you have that in place. So we'll revisit that later. But I want to know, when did you catch your stride as a TC? And did someone train you? Like, I know we talked about how you got into it and you researched it and you did your own footwork to figure
Mhm.
out, I want to stay in real estate, but I need something for me. How did you go from your first transaction and knowing what to do, and who taught you? Or are you still learning? Because I'm still learning too. So
I don't know ish. That's what I tell people. Like, people will ask me questions, and I'm like, to be honest, you probably should ask the lender, because with real estate, I think people get in a place where they sell like lots of houses. So, they think they've like experienced everything that can possibly happen in real estate, and that is so not true. You have lender overlays, you have title issues, you have like so many different things that, and people involved in the transaction, that you never really know what's required and what's not. And so what I did was use my contract templates as the backbone of how I set up my business. So like deadlines, emails, tracking, all of that is associated with my contracts. So for every state, I looked at the contract and I created a task template based on that. And so that is what I use to kind of help me have a leg up in markets where I don't do business. Another thing that's important is I am seeing some increase in, things where, like, you can, if you're an independent contractor, you can only work for one brokerage at a time. For TCs, I'm seeing some states require you to be certified or licensed. So you want to be on the up and up on that, because that's something where I'm looking to improve and make sure I'm, you know, licensed and certified where needed. But my experience really lies in my experience as an agent. So I used what I knew about Virginia as the foundation of how a transaction works. And then Google is your best friend. Like, people put so much information like on Google. Any state that I have interest in, I literally Google PDF version of real estate transaction flow or something like that, and you'll go to a website and they'll literally have, depending on the state, like the whole contract for you, and you can just read it and come up with stuff. So a lot of what I know came from my own experience as working in Virginia as a licensed agent, Google research, and then looking at what other TCs do. So when you become a TC, you interact with other TCs, right? So you'll see the kind of emails they send. You'll see, things that they ask. And I mean, you don't want to like steal their whole flow, but you might take a piece of their email and tweak it, so it flows with what you have going on. Then you put your little jazz on it. So a lot of what I've come to know and do has come from my experience and just living in that experience. I've had a lot of ups and downs with like clients and scarcity, and I still deal with self-sabotage as well. And what really helps me, I think, kind of like stay in it is because I love the control. So I don't know what that says about me as a person, but so I love being able to have, control over how
Yes.
my business flows, how things are responded to. Even though my husband will probably say, but all you do is complain. And I'm like, yes, you're my therapist. So I'm not complaining. You're listening. Like I'm laid in my mind, I'm laying on a chair and you have your glasses and a notepad and you're just listening to everything I'm saying. Like you're not even really listening to respond. But so, yes, so you need a therapist
Right.
along the way, right? You need a therapist.
Absolutely.
But yes, that's how I've come to do the things that I do.
I love that. I love that. And you didn't get scared to, just search and go down that rabbit hole of like, okay, this is what I learned as a realtor. How do I apply this as a TC? And I like that you said you just analyzed how other TCs did it. And
Mhm.
like you said, you don't have to steal everything that they did just add your own sauce and flavor, because we're
Yes.
all using the same templates. I'm using templates from like the early 2000s that, like you said, I just tweaked, and I've been constantly updating and making sure that I'm staying up with times and I'm not putting myself in a situation that's going to hurt me. It's, you know what I mean? So
Right.
that's what it's that simple. I think we just tend to overcomplicate things. But you mentioned therapy, and we're not going to get into therapy in this episode, but I'm just curious, do you work with a coach or a therapist or a mentor throughout this process?
Shout out Talkspace. I don't know if they can like endorse us, but
Oh, hello.
Talkspace.
I'm gonna make this a clip. So go ahead. So keep saying talk
Yes,
space.
it is. Keep running back. Yeah, Talkspace, which was it came to me out of some family drama, but from time to time I go back and forth. So they don't make you feel guilty about like hopping in and hopping out. So Talkspace is great for me for therapy because we deal with people so often, and they gave me. I did like the personality test. It gives you all these letters, but in general, what I can tell you is that I like people, but dealing with people can be draining. And I'm an analyzer, so I always want to know why they approach me this way or why they did that. So I had to skip over a coach and go straight to a therapist, if that makes sense, to help me
It does.
process.
It does.
Yes, to help process things. But I'm also going to plug that I'm working on an ebook and kind of a coaching setup for TCs, aspiring TCs, for everything that we're talking about right now. But it's not all the way ready yet. So you're putting pressure on me. Whew.
You're putting pressure on me because I've had a similar idea. I'm just like, maybe we can collaborate or something, or
Listen, break it in pieces.
break it into pieces and work on it together. Because honestly, like you do yours, we'll figure something out. But I like that you said, because there are many differences between a coach and a therapist, I think, but ultimately the
Mhm.
goal is to get you where you need to go and find, help you find your answers, and
Yeah.
working to do that and creating a plan and strategies in order to get to wherever you intend to get to. And yeah, I agree. Peopling is exhausting. Like even therapists have therapists. So
Right.
don't be discouraged to ask for help in any capacity, whatever that
Yeah.
means to you. And that actually is a good segue into my next question, because success, however you define it, it looks different for
Mhm.
everyone. It is subjective, but it doesn't occur without strategies, without systems,
Right.
consistency, action, you know what I mean? Or even simply just venting, letting out your feelings in that moment. So what is a typical or not so typical day in the life of Danielle look like, as a business owner? specifically? Like, how are you maintaining and moving the ship forward in the right direction? Because, like for me, I have a morning ritual, morning routine. And if I at least do one of the 5 things, I feel like I've had a successful day. And whether it's journaling, praying, meditation, working out, screaming, whatever the case may be. Everyone's different. So I'm just curious, what is your lifestyle like now that you are, you have been running a business, and longevity is key. And if you make it past that 5-year mark with the ups and downs, it requires some sort of system. And I'm sure you've tweaked it and adjusted it over the years, but I'm just curious at this stage in your career, what is moving the ship forward?
So I don't know if the people are gonna like the answer, but no ritual, because right now I'm kind of where growth, like, so I'm wanting to get to a point where I no longer have to run the business, so like I'm not as involved as much during the day, and so I'm going through a lot of hiring and firing right now. So right now it looks like, getting up, taking my daughter to school, getting in front of the computer, checking to see what tasks need to be done for the new hire to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. So right now it kind of looks like a rat race, but I do have a detailed schedule. Like, so from 10 to 2, I'm working on real estate, my personal real estate stuff. Anything outside of that, I'm checking in on TC stuff to make sure it's going the way that it's supposed to go. And so, what I would say is my vices are caffeine, coffee, and making sure I'm up by 6:15. As long as I'm up by 6:15, I'm good. It doesn't matter what time I went to bed. I just have to be up by 6:15 because I've outlined my schedule in a way where I do like all my looking at emails from the night before, looking at what tasks the new TC has, to go out. And so this is a good like question, because I don't know that there's like a template. Like, how you look, you read, you go online, and you're like, Steve Jobs did this for like every day until, so I don't want, I want people who may not have that kind of ritual, because I'm that person, to kind of like feel like it's okay. Because the ritual is the fact that you get up every morning at 6:15 and make sure that things are done. The ritual is that you are propelling yourself forward despite, maybe not like meditating and all of that. But that's not to say that you shouldn't include it. And so that's actually something that my therapist and that my family members get on me a lot about, because I'm like, meditate. Why would I take time to meditate? Like, I could just be sending these emails, be done, right? Because, oh, and my other guilty pleasure is reality TV. I am a Zeus Network fan. I am a Love and Hip Hop fan. I am a anything ratchet. I am all of that. Why? Because I don't live my life that way. So it's my way. It's my way of looking and like kind of like living vicariously through them. And then I turn it off and I go back to typing my professional emails and showing houses and all of that. So don't get caught up in, like not having some elaborate ritual or plan, because more than likely you have one. It's just that you kind of haven't like put it on paper, or you don't really pay attention to it because you're in the midst of doing it. But if you realize that, you're having a hard time sleeping or you're struggling, then you want to include like meditation, morning prayer, all of that to help you go forward.
I love that. I don't know why you thought no one would like that. If anything, I like this. Is selfishly for me. I was like, keep going. I love it. But that's an honest perspective, and that's why I asked this question, because typical is such a generic word, because what you do only will work for you. I could try the Danielle system, and I could fail miserably, or I could be successful. Who knows?
Yeah.
And who's to say that tomorrow your new start date could be 8:15? As long as I wake up
Right.
at 8:15, I'm successful. Everything that
Yeah.
happens after that is a win, because I
Yeah.
kept my promise of 8:15, 6:15. And I'm glad, like I said, I am glad you said that, because everyone's like definition of success looks different and is rooted in something different as well. Because you may be a night owl, and
Right.
6:15 doesn't guarantee success.
No.
It's guaranteeing your success, because that's the promise you made to you.
Yeah.
I'm not a
And
morning.
everything, right. And
Yeah.
everything thereafter. So I think the schedule, like the task base, that's why I'm probably a TC, because the task, I'm a task based person. So in my mind, I see the tasks. They might not be on paper, but I'm like, I know I need to do this, and that. And I need to make these calls, da. So do what works for you. Yes, but don't be, crazy about it. Like still be rational and like work out and eat healthy and all those things. Like you're supposed to do those things. Like, but if it's not that right now, it's okay, because you're kind of like, going through whatever journey or motion that your business is going through.
Right. And I like that you said you are probably already doing some sort of ritual or routine. It's just not written on paper. So we just have to show ourselves some grace. And,
Yeah.
like you said, if there are areas where you feel like you need to improve, whether it's your sleep or maybe you're wondering like, why don't I have so much energy? The same way you audit those files, audit your life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
don't worry about, you know, the pressures. I mean, worry a little bit, but
Yes,
just
you have to work.
worry a
Because you
little bit.
need that.
You need that. But there's those are just signals. Those are signals like, okay, body, I'm lacking in this area. So how can I improve? What do I need to take away? That was great. So that was a great answer. Thank you. And it's important also, like you said, Zeus Network, reality TV, have your things, because everyone, no matter if you're an entrepreneur working a 9 to 5, unemployed, wherever you're at in life, continue to live as if you already have everything you need, because
Oh my
we're always working and striving to get more and more and more. But it's like, let's work on being more present today. And if that means you want to enjoy love and hip hop love and hip hop marathon, that's okay, because you may find that may spark inspiration for the next move you're going to make. Maybe you become a TV producer, or you write the scripts for these shows, or you become a, who knows, you just never know where
You
inspiration
don't know.
work,
Yes.
or it may help you get better sleep because you actually enjoyed laughing for a good 6 hours, and you haven't laughed like that
Right.
forever. So
Yeah.
I encourage everyone. I love that you said that you have your business mindset, your play mindset. 6:15 is your commitment, and everything
Yeah.
else that happens after that is still a win, even if it's
Yes.
good or bad. But you made that commitment every day that in order for me to be successful, 6:15 is my time.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. That was really good.
You're
Let's see.
welcome.
Okay, so speaking of productivity,
Mhm.
this is the first time I'm asking anyone this, but what are your thoughts on AI?
Oh my gosh. And I'm laughing, right? Because my best friend, Rashida, she was like, Danielle, why aren't you using AI for a lot of the things you do? And I almost kind of like, I said, listen, this is going to sound like so like a real estate agent from like 1962, like that hasn't changed like their hairstyle on their business card. But I'm not really a big fan of AI because with I don't know. I guess you have to implement it in places where people, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I like the people part of this business, and I think that's why I've been able to be successful. So, I use AI for social media stuff. Matter of fact, I hired someone to help me with social media because I suck at social media. Like, I don't even honestly, I probably wouldn't even be on social media like as much as I am if it wasn't for this business or real estate or what have you. But I use AI for that. But in terms of incorporating it into my business, and unless I can get a robot, if I can have Rosie from the Jetsons to like audit files, upload them to SkySlope, do my intro calls without sounding like a robot, that's that's where I can start to implement it. But I do feel like in this industry, real estate in general is just a people industry. So you want to be careful of having like a lot of automated responses to things, and you want to keep the human part of it, keep it human, the human in it. So that's something like I call every client. It may not be the same day they submit their contract, it may be the next day, but I call every client and introduce myself, so that way when they're getting these emails from me, when they're getting these requests to do things, they do it a lot faster because they feel like they know me, versus, some girl in the cloud, saying, yo, we need you to sign this. You know what I'm saying? So AI, probably awesome, works for me in the social media arena, but in terms of like my actual business, I'm trying to think where else I'm probably using it and leaving it out. It's my cybersecurity. I'm using AI there. The software I use like kind of looks at all your incoming and outgoing emails and looks for stuff that may be phishing, stuff like that. So I'm using AI, but not in the sense of like it's making me more productive. So I might not be the best person to talk to about about AI in the TC realm, but I'm sure there's ways people are, implementing it. I think another part is I just don't have the patience, like, to say, okay, let me look and see what I'm doing that, I could have AI doing, and then setting it up or finding the additional software to do it for me. Like, in order to get to this level, like I have a lot of systems in place, right? Multiple softwares, etc. So sometimes looking at other software programs is daunting because you have to figure out how it works, and are you paying for something that you already have something that does this? So you know, AI is great. I haven't really been implementing it a lot in my own business.
No, and that's an honest answer, because the technology is still very new.
Yes.
To me, I liken it to when we were a lot younger and the internet was just starting to pop off.
Mm-hmm.
I've lived in a world where my teenage years and my youth was very much no internet.
Right.
And then I got to like eighth grade, a little bit of high school, and then college was all about the internet.
Internet.
It only, but
Right.
it's
Remember Y2K?
yeah, I remember all that. I'm gonna be 40 next. I'm gonna be 40 next
Now.
year. So it's like I've lived two different lives in a sense. And
Yes.
so but this go around, I'm glad you're at least embracing it. So you're not too far behind with the same headshot vibe. So
Right now.
because I think it is important to embrace new technology. You don't have to be an expert. I think it's
Yeah.
just important as entrepreneurs to understand that this exists, acknowledge it, and see where it does fit into your life. And it's interesting you said that you hire someone for social media and that you don't like it, because that's where I found you. And to me,
I
it was your videos that, to me, I'm like, oh, she must love social media. She's great at this. And
I cannot. If you know what it is, it's so for me, it's like peopling without people. Does that make sense? Like,
100%.
like, yes, so that's hard for me. Like, I do better in person. Like, that's why I said when we first got on, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to see your face. You know what I'm and I know you're like, my face. Oh my God, she's a weirdo. Who
No.
did I sign? No, but I'm better when I can like see your face expressions and how things are. You put things out on social media, and it's so weird. You'll put something that you think is amazing out. Nobody will like it. Nobody will share it. And then something goes up and you're like, oh my God, why would you put that up? And it's like viral. So it's hard for me because it's hard for me to grasp like what people really want to see. And so that's why I was so excited, like when you reach out, because I'm like, okay, this is finally working. Like for a very long time, I felt like social media wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
Like I just felt like I was just there in this space and I'm putting in this energy and nothing's happening. But more and more people are reaching out. And so I think that's a great, I'm glad that you brought that up, like about, like social media. Like you have to realize that it takes time. And I'm not really a spotlight person. I'm more like a one-on-one. So I don't know. Like, yeah, that's what I use AI for, because it comes up with the topics. She can type it up. She gets on me all the time about videos because I'm in a hoodie and like sweatpants most of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not glammed up, so you
Same.
look at social media and these ladies have like their lace fronts, they have on like a full suit, their makeup is fresh. And I'm very much like, I literally just wash my face and brush my teeth and I'm here. Okay.
Same.
Like, and I'm here. Like, and my kids make fun of me because like with my real estate clients, after about 3 or 4 showings, like I'm done dressing up. Like you know what this is about. Like I'm gonna get you this house out. You're not gonna have me killing myself in hills trying to show you a house in Rockland County. No, I'm listen. But yeah, so I'm very down to earth. But again, I think I got you off on a tangent. But yeah,
No,
AI is great.
not at all.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. The only reason I brought up AI is because it's important to have the conversations and just bring it up, especially within our community. People are kind of lost. And I feel like this is going to be a pivotal moment for many entrepreneurs in many industries because it's wiping out jobs.
yes, like McDonald's. I've heard that they've replaced like workers at McDonald's, with AI. They already have like the little stands, but like even the drive-through people and all of that. Like, so but I do want to plug this for AI. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but Google lead gen for AI because
Hmm.
I think that's something else that we struggle with for STCs is marketing to agents, like cold email marketing. So AI is good for that. And that's what my friend Rashida put me on to, was using AI to like scrub the internet for like, your top producing agents and, putting them in your database. So that, and you can like highly target it. You can use a hashtag, you can use all that stuff. So I just can't think. I think it's like IGO leads or something like that. But if you're looking to start out, that's a great thing to look into. And I'm starting to use it as well, more for collecting emails, even though I've been like hugely word of mouth through growing.
I was typing. I was trying not to like be obvious. I was like typing while
Not you trying not to be obvious on Zoom.
I know. For those that will eventually watch this, once I get around to posting videos, I was Googling lead gen AI real estate, trying to figure out, oh, okay, that's because I'm not using it that way. I am using AI, but I think not to its fullest capacity. I just started using it about a month ago. I use it to actually edit these podcasts. I have this program that I use. If you guys want to sponsor me, Descript, for me saying your
Yeah.
name right now. That's
Okay.
that's the program I'm using to edit, and it takes out all the ums, all the ahs, all the spaces in like 5 minutes.
What?
Yeah, and I was on the verge of like, if I was like, if I have to take out a loan to hire an editor, I will, because it was taking me like so many hours. And I think that's like the pros and cons of using new technology is
Yes.
emotionally, I feel bad for those that it is wiping out, and who, I don't know where technology is going to, how it's going to
Take.
affect the life of a transaction coordinator, but I think that also goes to say, one income. I heard someone
Mm-hmm.
say this on Earn Your Leisure. Actually, they said one is too close to none, and
Mm.
that hit me hard. And
Ooh,
I
that
started I started selling merch. I started the podcast. I
do
I,
you know?
I
Go
brought
ahead. Go ahead.
I brought my reselling business back. I was like, all right, we gotta like. I was too comfortable. What?
Wait a minute.
Hold up.
It's funny that you said that because I literally like just hung up my loan officer license and hung up an insurance license because of a fear of not having like enough sources of income. So it's so funny that you said it, but I think if I heard you correctly, is that the things that you brought back are like in connection with what you already do.
Yes.
So it's not like, what I was doing. Like I had went and found like 3 different careers and got a license in all of them and was trying to run them all at once and getting frustrated because, the team I had or what I was doing, wasn't working fast enough. So I
Mhm.
think that's a great point too, is like you said before, you have to really like know yourself and be self-aware in order to survive, the ups and downs, and, not to be easily influenced by new trends and things like that. Like you want to be a part of it, but you don't have to like jump into it right away. Like you said, you're using it to edit videos. I didn't even know you could do that. But she had told me about using it for Legion. So there's so many things. That's why this is like so important. Like this right here. I'm so excited.
Right. And I want us to share, one of my slogans is there are no gatekeepers here. I'm giving you the keys.
Oh
Because
wow.
what is the point of me having 2 decades of experience from a part-time assistant to entrepreneur
Mhm.
if I'm not able to share it? I'm basically an information hoarder, and I don't want to be that. You know what I mean? And I feel like I could also learn from you or anyone else I speak to. You know, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be through interview format, but it could just be me watching your social media. Like I said, that's why I wanted to give you props, because you're doing a great job on social media. And I feel like the content you provide is very informative, and it is presented in a way that is digestible, you know, and that's why I wanted to have you on here, because I want people to hear your point of view from a TC seat, or from an entrepreneur seat, a realtor seat, you know, from the East Coast. You know, you're working on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast in San Francisco.
I now I have to come visit. Oh my gosh. Okay, so there was a show called Murder in a First, right? I don't know why Murder in a First, because I think they're in San Francisco, right?
I've
And
heard of it.
every since, you have to Google it. But ever since that show, I've always said I want to come to San Francisco. So now I really have a reason beyond like a murder shirt show to say I want to come to San Francisco. So we're
Yes.
gonna have that beyond the Zoom.
Yes. Are you in New York, like New York, or like where are you?
I'm in Harlem. Like I'm in New York.
Hey, you're
I know, but it's exactly because I'm a transplant New Yorker. Like I'm not even an official New Yorker. Like I'm originally from Virginia. My parents were, military, so I was all over. So I literally just told someone today, like I can't say you're until, I've been here like 10 years. So I
okay.
have 5 more years before I can like really claim New York. But my kids, the youngest one, she's already like, I'm a New Yorker. I'm a New Yorker. So yes, all of that.
Shout out to VA. Shout out to VA.
Yes, I love it.
But yeah, anytime, come to San Francisco. That's another thing I want to do. You know, hopefully this births some sort of networking and community outside of Zoom, and where we link up and we travel to each other's cities, or whenever we are in each other's cities. For those listening, if I've spoken to you, or if you know want to be on the show, or you want to connect physically, let's figure something out. I love to travel also, you know, and like Danielle said, anytime she's in the city, you have my line now. Like, let's connect, you know what I mean? Or I can tell you like the spots to go check out.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get back to business. So, all right, so recently I I did an episode, it was a solo episode all about bad realtors, right? And it got a lot of attention, you know, a lot more engagement than I'm used to. I'm still waiting for it to go viral, but that's fine. I feel like this is like my new segment in the podcast, but it's basically like putting the real in real estate. So,
Okay.
you know, this is my first time introducing this segment, but I want to talk about how you navigate just difficult clients, quote unquote bad realtors, or just simply handling just like stressful transactions under pressure when said people are in your ear, or talking down to you, disrespecting you, or just they're out of character, because it happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I feel like that could be a breaking point for many of us to either keep going or just
Mm-hmm.
call it a day, wrap it up. I'm done with this. And I would hate for someone to basically let go of their dreams because of one bad person's comment. Like what I said earlier, like you could tell me I suck, but tell me like why and where, so I can
Right.
improve.
Right.
But some people internalize that, and they think they suck for, you know, they think they're a terrible person or a bad entrepreneur or whatever for the rest of their lives. And it's like,
No.
if we could stop that and give some tips, like I would love to just open up the conversation, and you could tell a story, you give us tips, all of the above. But I know this is kind of a big
I'm
topic.
smiling. Yes, I'm smiling because it fired. It's like I will fire it quickly. I will send them a termination notice. And the crazy part is I have to let me back up and take a deep breath. You're no matter whether you're working for someone or you're working on your own or you're going to the grocery store or you're getting something, from Chick-fil-A, or you're dropping your kid off at school, you're going to interact with people, right? And all of us have our own baggage that we're dealing with or maybe not dealing with, right? And so sometimes people exercise and release their emotions and drama about other things that have nothing to do with you in that moment, right? But what you want to be mindful of is that it's not a pattern, right? So, and I'll give a story. So I had this young lady where, as TCs, we will review the preliminary CD alta to make sure everything, the figures are right, right? But it's not ultimately just our responsibility. It's a partnership between you and the agent. So if I request it, the agent should also look at it. At least that's what we're hoping. Now, in most cases, the agents don't. So what I put in the email is, hey, this looks good to us, but wait for said agent to confirm, right? So rush transaction happens, and this young lady was not able to review the CD, and neither was I, because the closing was like the same day out of nowhere. We weren't expecting it. Nobody really had time to look at the CD. We just were trying to make sure you get to closing. And so after the dust settled and she gets her commission check, and she's like, oh, it's short, right? And so she calls me and she's like, oh my god, the my check is short, and you what are you going to do about this, and I have to pay my car note, and and I'm like, whoa. Wait a minute, let's look into it. Now the funny part was, this was when I was blending like my services a bit, so people, it wasn't clear that I'm a TC, I'm not an assistant, right? So I had done introductory calls for this client, etc., and basically explain the process to the client, right? So I already knew that said client had the money for her additional commission. It's just that title didn't catch it, right? And so she was going off and doing all of this stuff, right? And that bled over between things she had done in the past that was, borderline disrespectful, that I let slide because I'm in the earlier part of, building up this list of clients. And so I sent her a termination letter. So you have to look at things like that. You want to make sure you have your insurance, right? Because I have errors and omissions insurance. I don't know if other TCs do, but you should, because in the event like this, you want to be able to say to them, okay, if you need to make a claim, you can make a claim. But it's not my fault you can't pay your your car payment over this small clerical error. That's something of a personal issue. So you're just irritated that it happened, right? And so this is why, it's important to kind of like create boundaries and to make sure that whoever you are signing on as a client respects you as well. And this is that human part that I'm talking about that has to stay involved in it, because at the same time, because we are independent and we're reachable, we may not be, like a large corporation transaction company, coordinator company, where, you got to call a 1-800 number to get to the TC. You can call a local number and get to us and say, hey, this is wrong, or can you do this for me, or whatever. So you want to be careful about who you hire, and you also want to realize that a lot of times it's not personal, even though it feels personal. But don't be afraid to fire a bad client, but be even better in the interview process. Like, I interview, it's not me just seeing if I'm a good fit for them, it's seeing if they're a good fit for me, based on my style, based on my goals for my business, based on the fact that it's me and like one other person. So you want to make sure that it works. And if it doesn't, it's okay. You'll find another client, another person. And, I don't want to paint the picture like, oh, I just was rock. I have a husband, so he has an additional income. So there was, periods, odds and end jobs, in between where I am today and when I first started, so you're going to have to do something strange for a piece of change, for lack of better words, in the beginning phases. But don't let that, get to your self-confidence or kill your dream. It's just a part of the process.
I love that. And I think you nailed it on the head. It's just, it is a process, but you also have to know your process, and going back to values, what you expect from them, and setting those expectations right out of the gate and constantly
Yeah.
reminding them, and not just setting it from the beginning, but like, all right, we've gone through this 3 months. Maybe I could loosen up the strings a little bit on this aspect, but I'm gonna tighten up over here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that was great. Thank you for sharing that, because I'm sure a lot of us out here can get lost in, you know, I don't want to lose clients. This is all I have. And some people, unfortunately, I went through it. I dealt with bad agents for a long time because, for me, I don't have that supplemental or additional income. So for me, I'm on this like path of like, all right, everything I do is for me. So I have to like stay on it. But
Right.
as I've grown, I don't have the same attitude or mindset that I did 5 years ago or even 6 months ago. As long as I'm
Yes.
growing my confidence and my courage to stand up to these people that are quote unquote bad realtors or don't align with me in my business, then I I can trust that I'm to me, I look at it as like I'm removing the chaos and making room for better energy, for better clients, for more
Yeah.
money, more
Yeah.
opportunity.
And to improve your processes. Like, so from that experience, I put in place where, the system I use, there's a task for me to request it. Then there's also a task for me to review it, right? Because what would happen is I'm like, oh, I requested it, I looked at it, it's good. But I didn't have anything that I could say to her, like, oh, okay, here's the task, or, we at least told such and such this. So use any bad experience as a way to self reflect and see if there is room for improvement and growth. And there definitely was room for improvement and growth in, that experience and other experiences that I've had. You just have to be honest with yourself. I think, we look at things that make us, that's painful, and kind of like, but why, from the aspect of what the other person, but you have to look and see like, oh, okay, but could I have improved? Like, what can I do in my business that will prevent this from happening again? Like, and that's kind of like how I've been able to bounce back from the bad realtors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like this isn't going to be the only time you're going to be on the show. I feel like we're going to come back because there was so many topics that we hit on today that I want to go more in depth, but I do want to wrap up our conversation today because I think this is a perfect introduction for you and just
Okay.
for us meeting. This is our first time meeting, guys. We had never, other than social media and a couple of DMs and emails, this is my first time technically quote unquote meeting until she comes to San Francisco, uh,
Like, you can tell I need a vacation, right? Because
well, come
I'm
on
already like,
down.
yeah.
So I just have a few last questions to wrap things up, but I definitely want to hear what you have to say about this. So let's just jump straight into it. So this is the final segment right before we wrap things up, but I'm curious, what is something you are glad you did starting out? And then what is something you wish you did starting out in your business?
Mm. Oh, that's a good one. Wow. Ooh, I thought I'm pretty good with like answering questions. So let me really think about it.
Yes.
Okay. The first thing, the first thing I wish I had done from the beginning is used like a separate phone system.
Mm,
Like for so I have a business phone and I just use that number, but because my life is so crazy in the midst right now, that people will call and I say, hello, this is Danielle, and I never know like the context of what they're calling for. So if you are going to be heavy on the experience where you're involved in like making intro calls and stuff like that, you want to have a phone system in place from the jump. Like, you don't want to do it in the midst, because agents will still hit the number that you called them from the first consultation. And then if they want something done, or if they're the type of agent where they'll tell their client, oh, call Danielle, she'll know. The next thing you know, now the client has your number, right? So have a phone system. That's something I wish I had done in the very beginning. The second thing is billing a budget. So I would have said I've created a budget. What was that, the second question? What was the second question?
Oh, what is one thing you're glad you did starting out, and
Okay.
then what you wish you did starting
Okay, yes. So billing. Yes, billing is what I did from the beginning that has been like amazing. Like, so I've always looked at things from a number standpoint. So if the numbers don't make sense, then this doesn't make sense like to do. So as TCs, you're only as good as the information that your agents provide you. And so you want to have access to the tools and resources that they use so you can be good at what you do. Like, so you don't always have to use them as the source of information you need. But with that comes a lot of different tech packages and, software and dot loops and DocuSigns and open to close and follow up boss and all these things, right? So you want to have a budget and you want to stick to that budget, and you don't want to go off the budget until you're bringing in enough income, to go where you're in the positive, right? You're not in the negative, you're not in the red.
That was perfect. That was perfect. Those are Danielle's keys that she's given us. You've given us so many keys in this entire conversation. I'm so grateful that we connected and linked. And like I said, I know you'll be back. There's so much to talk about, honestly. Like, there's so much that I want to extract from this conversation and just build off of that. I feel empowered through just listening to you speak. So I'm just so curious how you stay empowered. Like, what keeps you empowered to keep going and moving forward at this point?
I have a vision. Like, I want my business to outlive me. So when I'm gone, I still want my business to thrive. So it's something where I feel like there's always going to be real estate agents. There's always going to be transactions happening. And there's always going to be agents who need help with their paperwork because they're so busy closing deals. And so I want to create something that outlives me and that my kids and grandkids can benefit from if they're living on the moon or wherever they are.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And the final question that I love asking my guests, that if whatever you're willing to share publicly, is just one goal you want to accomplish this year, to say it out loud and keep you accountable, that you're willing to share publicly.
Ooh. I think I'm at the place where I'm ready for a partnership, but I'm scared.
Ooh.
So I know I'm looking for a partner, but I don't know. Does that sound like Match.com? Like, not that. I don't want. I'm looking for a professional partner, like
business partner.
Yeah, business. That's the word. I'm looking for a business partner that can help me take my business to the next level and also offer them whatever it is they're looking for. And that is something that has been really hard for me. So that's why I'm like really giddy about connecting with you, because for some reason, like, it seems like we're few and far between. Like, when I look on Instagram, I don't see a lot of us. Like, I know that there's companies out here, but like, I guess like a community, like, we don't really have a community, and it's hard to kind of figure out everything on your own. So and I don't want a mentor, like a mentor, they're going to say, oh, this is what you should do. I'm tired of doing by myself. Like, for this to outlive me, I'm going to need a partnership. So a business partner.
There you go. Thank you for the clarity. Didn't she say she was married? No, I'm just kidding. I know. I'm messing with you. Just jokes. But Danielle, this was perfect. I loved every second of this conversation. So what I want you to do is you've already had the mic, but to close things out, how can people follow you, find you, work with you, sign up to be your business partner, people?
Yeah.
I know you and I will collaborate on more things, I imagine. I would hope. We will. But how can people follow you, find you, work with you? Tell us everything. The floor is yours.
All right. At the best tcever.com, at the best tc ever on Instagram, and top producing agents only. So that's going to be for single agents, 1 to 3 active transactions a month, not closed, active. And for teams, 1 to 5 agents tops. I can handle that. And then if you're an aspiring TC, hold on. Just shoot me a text, 929-446-5302. If you want to talk and collaborate, I'm working on some things for you. And that's it. I think that's everything.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. This has been awesome. Stay tuned for more from Danielle. Please follow her at the best TC ever. To me, that's one of the coolest names ever. And this has been another episode of Transaction Care. I am your host, Lillian Hernandez, aka Lilly like the flower, because we're learning and growing together. So until the next episode, I'm giving you the keys. There are no gatekeepers here. Care for yourself, care for your wealth. Your time is worth it. Let's coordinate. Talk soon.